City Council meeting on February 15th at 5:30. Roll call. Boots?
Here.
Spear?
Here.
Council Ward number 1 Leeper?
Here.
Council Ward number 2 Anderson?
Here.
Council Ward number 3 McNeil?
Here.
All right. And now the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, communication. If anybody would like to address the council, please step over to the podium and give your name and address for the record.
I'm Betty Emmerich, and I live at 409 East Street, Tipton. I've been here for several times talking about the Tipton Senior Dining, and a week or so ago, the big walk-in cooler died. It just seems like under my watch, everything is dying this year. Anyway, if anybody has any money left over after paying the Christmas bills and the taxes, we could use a little bit of help. This morning, the fax machine died. And I don't know what else can happen down there. But if anybody in the audience would like to dine down there, our numbers are down a little, and then you could put money in the jar like you would do if you went to the restaurant and put a tip in, and that would help. And I need somebody to deliver meals in town on the first Tuesday of the month and the third Wednesday of the month. And so if anybody feels like they could take on that job, I would appreciate it. The second thing that I would like to talk about is my, I guess you'd call it displeasure with having to have a special election. I think that's a waste of money because this person filled somebody else's job and then was duly elected by the people. Just like if somebody will be duly elected with the special election, but then moved away and is now back and was approved by the council, and I just felt I'd like to express my displeasure at spending money to have a special election. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anyone else, you can approach the podium. All right, thank you for that. And we'll move on down to letter I, or wait, sorry, the F, the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything on the consent agenda they want to pull out? No? All right, is there a motion to approve the consent? Boots with the motion.
Second.
Anderson with the second.
Anderson?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Boots?
Yes.
All right, then down to resolutions for approval. The first resolution, which is a resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare specification and advertise for bid for services for spraying of the baseball fields and mowing and grounds maintenance of the public library.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, we're looking at the possibility, first of all, of doing this task in-house with our staff that are working on certifications for spraying. But in order to understand how, in order to maintain that we have an ability to get those jobs done, we will, as I gather is past practice, put out for bid for those, the spraying in the fields and for mowing and grounds maintenance of the library building, and also whatever care needs to be taken for the turf on those buildings. And again, we will advertise with specifics on what we expect, and with the possibility that we will not award a bid on this, but we'll bring it in-house this year. But it remains to be seen how prepared we are for that. At any rate, our request here is for approval to proceed with that specification and advertisement.
Do we currently have someone certified?
We have someone who is near certification.
Do you know if they'll have it finished by the time the season rolls around?
The intent is that they will pass the last exams here in March, so we should have a pretty good indication of whether we'll have that person in place or not. But we will, again, we'll bid this so that we can bring a recommendation to you with both alternatives. Any other questions?
Is there a motion to approve the authorization of this?
I so move.
Spear with the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Leeper with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, resolution number 2. Resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare and advertise for mowing and grounds maintenance of the cemetery.
Again, I understand that in the past we have contracted this service out. We are looking at doing the same. I also learned that the scope of the work changed somewhat in the last year with the city undertaking, really unfortunate use of the term, with the city utilizing its forces for excavation and openings, and that responsibility has shifted. So we want to revisit those specifications to make it clear exactly what we expect them to do.
So just to make sure this is not to like get a bid process and then the city take over.
Correct. This is to continue a process in which someone is responsible for the grounds maintenance.
Okay.
On that, Tim, I think the contract was a 3-year contract. Can we continue to bid it that way?
There's no reason we can't run it for a 2 or 3 year contract with the possibility of extension and
Okay.
adjustments.
Oh, okay.
All right, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the motion, a second? McNeil with the second.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
All right, moving on to the next resolution. A resolution approving a low bid for purchase of a dehumidifier compressor for the James Kennedy Aquatic Center.
I can speak generally to this. This is one of the compressors for a dehumidification unit. I believe there are 2 dehumidifiers at the pool. And Virgil's here and probably speak more specifically to this.
It's actually a 15-ton compressor for the east unit above the pool. And I think it was around 2,500.
We had 2 bids. One was 24 and one was 4,000 something, and they're listed in the resolution here.
And we can do all that work in the house, except for we'd have to rent a crane.
Okay.
That's all I have unless there's questions on that. Our recommendation is to accept the low bid from United Refrigeration Cedar Rapids for $2,480.36.
And that's just the price of the compressor,
That's
correct?
just the price of the compressor delivered.
And then you said we'd have to rent a crane?
Yeah, so the last time we did it was between $300 and $400.
Okay.
They'll set it right in the unit for us, and
And
then
then-
let me cross the rough.
Then all our guys can do the rest?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any discussion or questions for Virgil? Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Leeper with the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Anderson with the second?
McNeil,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
And then, the next resolution is approving an acknowledgement / settlement for a 30-day suspension of the tobacco permit for Rhino's Grill.
What I understand is that the Office of the State's Attorney worked out an agreement with Rhino's Grill to close or suspend their cigarette tobacco license, so they cannot sell cigarettes or tobacco products for a 30-day period to be determined by this council. And that was in lieu of them paying a significant fine. So the State's Attorney's Office requires the local authority, the city council, to approve that and to set the 30-day suspension period. So I left blanks in the resolution for the period of time that you care to choose for that 30-day suspension, but the recommendation is the sooner the better.
So we can start it at midnight tonight, correct?
Yes.
Does anybody have any objection to that, starting at midnight tonight?
And then how do they receive that notice then
We will provide them with a notice of that effect.
immediately?
We'll probably ask the police department to deliver that.
So this will be prepared and then,
And deliver them tomorrow.
So should I start
Morning.
tomorrow at midnight?
If we were due at midnight tonight, it would be effective tomorrow morning with opening of business.
oh, okay.
There is a chance they'll be open tonight at
Yeah.
midnight until 2 a.m.
Yeah,
They are
Maybe we should make it for
so what is that?
start of
Wednesday morning at midnight?
Yeah, Wednesday morning, midnight, Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Maybe the
That'll be the
17th.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
001 a.m. Okay, we will, with your motion on that, we will prepare the notice.
So is there a motion to prepare the notice?
I make that motion.
Boots with the motion,
I'll second.
Spear with the second.
Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil.
All right, going down to letter L, the motions for approval, the claims list. So any discussion with the claims list? Then is there a motion to approve that claims list?
I'll make the motion.
Anderson with the motion, is there a second? McNeil with the second.
Anderson,
Yes.
Spear,
Yes.
Leeper,
Yes.
McNeil. Boots,
Yes.
All right, then down to letter M, the reports to be received or filed. First one is from Rod Ness, Cedar County Economic Development Commission, the progress and policy.
Good evening. As he said, my name is Rod Ness. I'm with Cedar County Economic Development. I've been with the organization for, just a little over a year now. Got a bit of a presentation here, but I'm not super good at following the script, so I may jump around, and if I confuse you, just holler at me. Yeah. The other thing before I start, I had surgery done on this eye, so if I start winking at you guys a lot, don't get too concerned. Again, I'm from Cedar County Economic Development. Got on board about a little over a year ago. One of the things that when I got hired through the hiring process, I discussed with the board the organization and the direction the organization wanted to go. And during those discussions, one of the things that really came up to us is that historically the organization had been focused on outside recruitment, trying to bring in industry, trying to bring in businesses from outside the county into the county. It's a wonderful goal, and we've had some success. But that alone, one of the things that the board said is that they wanted to have more impact, more daily value to our member communities. And so that during those discussions, one of the things that we decided is repositioning SEDCO, reaching out to our partners a little bit more extensively, and really taking an educational role when it comes to economic development. The repositioning that we've talked about is just that, trying to be, have more impact on the ground day to day with the communities that we have. This means trying to communicate with the citizens, the small businesses, the large businesses, and the governmental agencies and our partnering entities to have an impact on them. So what this come out to be, what we developed is the Grow Here Cedar Campaign. The Grow Here Cedar Campaign is something that we devised is so we can talk about the assets that we have in Cedar County, to remind the citizenships the quality of life that we have in Cedar County from some of the unique assets that we have. And assets, when we talk about assets, we talk about everything from the natural resources of our agricultural base to the small businesses that we have within our community, to some of the historic structures in our downtown areas, to the people themselves, to the natural resources that gives us entertainment and recreation. One of the things that we did early on at the last county fair, I set up a booth and I had a big old banner. And I asked people to come aboard, come on over and write on the banner the things that they loved about Cedar County. And I was real excited. I thought I was going to get all this good information that I could turn around and give back to the communities. Well, people struggled with it, giving us an answer. And they stood there with the marker, and I kind of gave them hints. Well, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy? And to be honest, after I came back from the fair, I was a little disappointed. I was expecting a little bit more data points that I could actually use. But after talking to the board and having some discussions with a few other people, I realized I got a really good data point. And that is, a program like this is really important and something that's needed in our county. We've got to remind ourselves that we have a high quality of life. We have great housing at good prices. We have short commutes to work with high quality jobs. We have small town living that that makes us unique, and all of our communities have some unique assets too. So, seeing this as it is, it got me excited about pursuing this a little bit further. We set up a website. We have the Grow Here Cedar has a website that I encourage you guys to check out. It's one in which we promote what I said, the assets within the community. And along with doing this, we're reaching out to our partners, working with economic development groups and chambers, and trying to complement the work that they're already doing with some of the basic nature of trying to infuse and grow the businesses we have. It's great to bring in an outside business, but if we lose two in the process of the ones we have here, we're no farther ahead. So unless we grow and support the businesses we have, then we're no farther ahead. And so in conjunction of supporting these businesses, we're also reaching out to other partners, like the Corridor Alliance. And with the city of Tipton, we worked with them to create a new work labor shed site that we'll be delivering to you tomorrow. Worked out with Iowa State University. Part of my employment is in conjunction with Iowa State University, and we brought in resources from them to help us with our communities. For example, last year we brought in some students, and they did some business analysis for some of our local businesses in town here. They also did an analysis of the community itself, and I would like to deliver those tomorrow to you also. And while we can argue about some of their suggestions on maybe what we should do is questionable, but there's still real value in that, understanding what a younger generation perceives and the quality of life they see that they could have here. And I think there's a real worthwhile in this type of partnership. So the other component is education, and part of this HERE campaign, as much as anything else, it is an educational campaign. Someone smarter than me noticed it first, but economic development has the same abbreviation as ED, education. And that's a lot of the work that we're doing here, is trying to educate the communities to talk about what is the quality of life we have, what kind of quality of life do we want to give the next generation, and preparing and trying to make your guys' jobs easier. So when there is a strategic investment that you guys want to do that helps build and sustain your local economy, talking to the communities and saying, the community members and saying, okay, these are the strategic investments that we've all agreed upon, and there is a value about investing into the future. So, and so those are some of the things, complementing like the Shop Local campaign or the Shop Small campaign. Another thing that we're doing is that we're reaching out to the younger generation that lives in our county or in our city. And I'm proud to announce that I have an intern working at the high school helping me promote this message to that demographic. Her name is Maggie Jones, and she came aboard just a couple weeks ago, and so we're really excited to have her aboard. And not only is she's helping us send the message to the younger generation, she's also helping me to understand that generation. So we'll have her on board. We have another one in one of the other communities, and we're also doing things like teaching entrepreneurship to grade schools over at North Cedar. There's an 8th grade class that I'm teaching over there, entrepreneurship class. Because part of what we want to do is educate our citizenship and educate our younger folks that Cedar County, the great thing about technology is that you can do your job anywhere. And Cedar County can give them a great life, and they can create their dreams here in Cedar County or here in Tipton. Because we need that resource for the long term for this young resources to stay if we want to be a growing, sustainable community. Questions? Compliments? Insults? And I got one more gift for you. Your own Grow Here sticker.
Right, these are nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
One thing I would add, Rod, is to coordinate with Linda from the Chamber of Commerce about getting together to deliver that report from Cedar County Labor Shed Analysis. So it's, I think that she'd be able to put that to good use.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Rod.
Very nice.
Thank you. All right, then the next one is the Public Works and Electric, with tree trimming, removal, and replacement.
I think you got in your packet, did you get the list? I surveyed the town here a couple weeks ago and looking for trees that needed attention. Basically, I was looking for 3 things. And we do have a number of trees, not many, but a few trees that need to be removed. Dead or dying or declining. Or storm damage to the point that I've determined that they need to be out, they're hazards. That's one thing. The other thing is still looming up there. There is storm damage in tops of some of the trees. Up above probably 60 feet, a lot of them. I could climb those, but I'm not gonna. I would have to take a week off after every one of them probably, so. But what we've done in the past is we've rented a 57-foot truck, 57 feet, and I can get anything from that. The other thing that we do is we raise trees over streets. Now when I do that, and because we have a 14-foot ordinance over our streets, when I do that, lots of times I'll try to balance the tree and go on the sidewalk side of the tree too, so that we have a balanced tree. So if you see me cutting over the street, and then you say, well, why are you cutting over that sidewalk? Because you only need to be 8 or 10 feet over the sidewalk. I like to have the tree balanced. We have taken out, since I've been here, I know just removals with our crew over 100 trees. Storms have taken out a lot more than that. So we continue to do maintenance on them, and we continue to replant. 5 years ago, I suggested that we plant 50 trees a year. We did that for about 3 years, and then the nurseries that I was using went under. we got all their trees that they could sell us, and they are no longer in business. Last year I was down to about 15 trees, or smaller trees. I continue to work with the Rotary and the Lions, donating money for that, along with Betty has been able to get money and encourage people to donate. So we have continued to plant, just not as many as we have in the past. The other thing that we're doing when we rent this truck, this time we are also going to do the line clearance. Now there's 3 of us in the city that are line clearance certified, myself and Josh McAdoo and John Walsh. John and Josh will do most of that themselves, along with maybe another guy in the electric department, I'm guessing. Yeah. I'm okay if I'm talking for you here? Yeah, you're doing a good job. Okay. We agree on something. But this is a really nice opportunity that we work with the electric department on that together, and typically they do it all. Sometimes I get an opportunity to work on a big tree in one of those situations, but mostly it's sucker growth, regrowth on trees. So it's just a matter, and I think what you guys come with like 115 or 16 trees. Is it really? Yeah. There's a bunch of trees out there that are close to the power. So that's our project. Questions on any of that? Look, we've done this for years. We've just never really come to the council and presented it.
And I'd like to add, I appreciate that both Steve and Floyd put together lists when I asked them, so that you could see, you know, what they were looking at in terms of tree maintenance for the year. And I think you're to be complimented for having worked to replace trees where you can. And I think we can talk more about how to do more of that in the future. But I just really appreciate them taking the time to list out the problem areas.
Yeah, it's a good program. I really enjoy working with that whole. Any questions on that?
Looks like a huge project.
Yes.
You know, it's the scope of it is a little bigger. I know what I was going to say is I thought I'd probably need the truck for about a month, maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And talking to John, their line clearance probably takes 3 or 4 weeks anyway. We're probably going to have it for a couple months, and it's coming the 1st of March. So I will be. I've been encouraged to tell people that we're taking their tree out. Most of them, it's a no-brainer. They're dead, or they're in bad shape, and they've contacted us about taking them out. However, there are some that we need to take out that probably people would wonder. So, questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. The economic development report. Oh, yeah.
Well, first of all, does anyone have any questions with the report that I submitted?
No.
Great. Well, you can see that we have a lot of things going on, working on Thursdays in the gazebo to promote downtown. That will begin June 2nd, and it will run for 8 weeks. So I have a lot of entertainment coming, and then I also, Tipton is a kid-friendly community, and so we have a lot of children activities going on at that time too. Also to promote farmers market. 4th of July, I just want to touch on that just for a moment. We have begun, actually probably about 5 weeks ago, starting working on the 4th of July. And I will be meeting with city department heads probably within the next week or two to really get our line items going. I had an email, I received an email Friday before I left work from Chris Earl, who is Channel 9's anchorman in the morning. And he is interested in getting together with me, going to a couple of businesses. I didn't even have opportunity to tell Tim this. To promote Tipton with products that are made in Tipton. What he's thinking is perhaps 2 or 3 businesses. So as soon as I get a little more information, I can collaborate a little more with you on that. I'm hoping tomorrow I can touch base with him too. I'm all for promoting our great little city, so I was very excited to get that email. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
All right, and last report is the water report from Alliance.
And you guys have a copy of all of it. It's general information, if there's any questions on any of it, other than lots of water meters last month. So, any questions? Open for discussion.
All right. All right, then, to the discussion items, the budget reports. Oh, wait. No, we have to- Oh, wait, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Wait, we have to have a motion to, receive those reports, sorry. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anderson with the motion,
I'll second.
Boots with the second.
Spear,
Yes.
Weaver, McNeil, Boots,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
All right, then moving on to the, budget reports. This will be the first draft of the budget proposals.
And I'd like the department heads to come to the podium for a brief presentation of your proposed budget. And if you don't have anything, because I think I just lost track of Laura. Oh, okay. If you don't have anything yet for budget, and Laura and I know we were working on general fund today, and so we still have the enterprise funds to,
Whatever's on the list, the council has copies except for the gas one, because I just finished that before I came.
okay, so we can go by the gas report for tonight then. And,
You have it, Tim, I just have it here.
oh,
It doesn't
okay,
hand it out.
okay, so we do have it.
Yes.
So I guess, Virgil, if you could touch on your budget, if this is an incremental budget with no major changes.
No major changes, just a little bit of change in the gas purchases because of the 300 decatherms additional that we got for the winter time. And we're pretty thrilled about that because we shouldn't have to run the LP vaporizer as much as we did
Okay.
previous years. Other than what all the other departments had increases in cars and insurance.
Again, incremental changes. Any questions for Virgil? I forgot to preface that, as I just stepped into this at the 11th hour, this is an incremental budget. It is a well put together budget. It has been well tended for a lot of years, from what I've seen in the past. And what we're proposing here are generally just nominal changes that adapt to change in pay or change in health insurance costs. And then you're also looking at the change to the management of the water and sewer systems, and I hope I didn't just step on a landmine. But that's something that's been talked about for the past, it looks like, year. Otherwise, again, we're looking at this as an incremental budget with not a lot of dramatic change. But I'll touch on the spots where I think there may be, and certainly if you have questions about it, I'll do my best. Thanks very much.
Tim, what's the percentage increase we're having to do for insurance this year?
I'm gonna have to defer to Lorna.
What's the percentage of increase in insurance that we're having to budget for right now?
For health insurance, about 13, and that's just an estimate, because we haven't gotten the actual rates yet. Property and all that insurance was 2%, but workers' comp was 13 or 15%.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello. Again. Actually, I don't believe there's much of a change in economic development budget. Line item for CD projects, I'm gonna be doing another community guide, Tipton guide. There's also revenue that comes in for that too, so it's sometimes a wash with that. So we'll be starting that. I am having Annie Schroeder help me with that, because I like to keep things local. So she'll be helping me with that community guide. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything any different. Questions? No?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Library?
Very little changes. Did you give them my report that I?
No, we're holding it until we pull our whole act
I
together.
did not bring that with me tonight, so
That's fine, I
Okay.
think that'll wait until we put
Okay.
together the second
really
draft.
no big changes.
All right. Police?
I was not worth it.
Gotcha.
Pending,
All right,
chief is other stuff.
yes. The ambulance.
Very small changes. Everything that we did change around should still be within our projected revenue, for fiscal year 17. I increased the building maintenance, just so we can try and get some of the stuff fixed down there with the roof and having an adult-sized toilet in the men's bathroom. Which would be nice. I know a lot of people appreciate that. And then, once you look into capital equipment, you'll see that for other capital equipment, the $10,000 line item, that is for the purchase of radios that are compliant with the national P25 standards. We only have 4 or 5 portable radios that meet those standards. So with that $10,000 alone, we'll be able to purchase 11 portable radios that meet that standard. It's the same radios that the police and the fire department use, so that way we're all using the same thing finally. We're also pursuing a grant to purchase additional portable radios along with another multi-band mobile radio to put in our second ambulance, so that way both the radios in the ambulance match. And to my knowledge, we'll be the only ambulance or fire service in the county with a mobile multi-band radio excluding emergency management. So we can talk to every county around us on their frequencies. So if we get that grant, we'll be able to do that also. Otherwise, it'll just be the portable radios. And then the way things have been going, we're expecting some type of large investment in the engine in Adam 8 this year, just based on its mileage and usage and the type of engine. So at some point this year, the engine will probably fail on us, and we'll have to dump several $1,000s into it. Hopefully it won't, but more than likely it's going to. That's all we have.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Becker? No? All right, thank you, sir. The Public Works, Mr. Nash.
I wish I could say that, nothing's changed, but because we're getting away from Alliance on our contract with them and taking over the water wastewater, that's a big change. And that works into some positive, some very positive things here. I'll get into that in a little more detail. The other thing that, of course, with the stormwater situation and McClure being involved with that and getting, in fact, this week on Thursday, we're gonna have that open house for them to do their presentation. That's gonna be another change, but it's a positive change. Since we do have that $5 a month stormwater charge, we have money. We also have money back in the black in garbage, and we also have our water and sewer rates have brought us back into the black. All good positive things. Since there's so many changes in what we work with in Public Works and the enterprise funds that I deal with, I want to go through this at a time, and especially we got a couple new councilmen. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. If I can't, Lauren can. Is she still here? Yes, she is. Good.
Yeah.
But let's go to, on Public Works, that's the 200 group. That's streets, basically, to start with, 210. And I'm not sure what form you folks have in terms of, can you find that real quick, or that, okay, I didn't know, last couple times you had to flip through a lot of stuff. Okay, 210, as you know, there's 6 of us down in Public Works, so a big portion of, our budget, of course, is payroll. So, that's a big part of it. I'm gonna just flip through this, and I've got notes here, once in a while I wanna throw something out. I don't see anything on streets that's too much different. No, then we go to the sidewalks at 212. You notice in 212, there's $7,000 in maintenance. Some of that is gonna be that sidewalk on the north end of the library, across from Tyson's. We think that's about 3,500 of that, and that's just the material alone, that's the concrete. That's an in-house project. So that's a little bit. Now the rest of that will be money that we use for our sidewalk program, for people that wanna replace their sidewalks, and the city reimburses them for their concrete only. And that's been in place for the last 3 or 4 years. There's only $3,500 in that though, in this budget. Then you wanna go, the next one would be 221, which is trees. That's not a big budget item. We basically fund that. We go out and chip for a fee. Normally we chip about $2,000 worth of brush in town a year that people pay for. That goes into the tree fund that funds our tree operation. The other thing we have in here is donations. This year, we're a little optimistic. We put $5,000 in donations. So there's only $7,000 there that, and it's no tax money. This year, though, I think we're gonna have to put some tax dollars in there to support that. Going on to traffic service maintenance is a small one, not much in that. Traffic, 240 is, yeah, that's signage mostly. Snow and ice, 250. 250 we have, usually we put $7,000 or $8,000 in that, basically for salt, sand, for winter use. 3 years ago, we didn't use any. We had enough left over. We built that salt, or that brine building. You guys built that brine building in-house. We didn't pay anything for salt that year, so we built the building. And we use brine a lot. And we use that because we can take 2 scoops of salt and make enough brine to cover the entire town ahead of a storm. If we do that with trucks and do salt sand, it takes 2 truckloads. So that's the savings we have with brine. A lot of people don't like the brine because they think it's a little more corrosive. And it's the same salt we use that we put on the streets, so I think it's pretty much the same. And I get in a discussion once in a while, don't we? I see somebody over there that I get in a discussion with once in a while. Anyway, that's what we do. And it's been very economical. We would go on to then, still in that 200 group, is 290 is sanitary sewer. And here's where things get interesting because, first of all, we never know what's going to cave in and we all are aware of the situation. That's why we're doing this study, and we do have, now the stormwater is a study, but it also interplays with the sanitary sewer. And I would encourage all of you to come on Thursday night and you'll see how that interacts. They've got some really nice drawings and some big posters that show how all that can and does happen that causes this problem. And the engineers will be here to answer your questions. So 290, I don't see anything big on that except for the study and going through that whole process. 291 is the storm sewer. 290 is sanitary sewer. 291 is storm sewer. Same thing. Questions on either one of those? Anything up to this point? I'm gonna go then to water operating. Now, these are enterprise funds, water operating, garbage collection, water and sewer. Those are things we charge for, so those are enterprise funds. Like I said, water's in the black, thanks to Chris and the council, previous council, we got our rates up to where we would be sustainable. And I'm looking at this, worksheet that Lorna and I and Chris and Tim have worked on for the last 2 months, and Brian Brennan had a lot of input on this because he's gonna be in charge of, the water and the wastewater. And, I've never seen anything marked up so much as these 2 pages, but I think we have it all, and I think you folks have got, did you guys have a clean copy up there? That's not what mine looks like. It's marked up with everything, so we have, I think what you got is our accumulated, I sure hope. In fact, I know it is. But what we did, and this is really important, what we did, Alliance basically was about $300,000 a year to operate those 2. What we wanted to do going into this, and Brian and I have been in this conversation along with Chris and our previous manager for quite a while, is what we wanted to do was maintain that $300,000 budget that we've had in the past. We want to utilize that, see how much we could save by doing it ourselves. So we pulled in all of the expenses that we thought it would take for us to operate it. We want to keep that at the same level it is right now, and at the end of the year, we're going to see how much money we save. What we're going to, and we think it's going to be a minimum of $30,000, and that's including buying a new pickup and paying for it, and Brian's salary, and part of one of half-time salary for one of my other guys probably, because we need a backup. That's going to be, this next year is going to be a proving ground for what we think we can do. But we're going to maintain the same level of asking in the budget for starters. Next year we'll know what it costs. There's going to be some startup costs in this whole operation. So because of that, we don't want to take $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 off of it and then find out we don't have enough to get it going. Once the startup costs are over with, then we'll realize our real savings in running it in-house. Questions on that? I can't probably give you a lot of details. Lauren and I went over this again today, and she'd asked me questions, and I'm still saying I don't know. I don't know, but I will know, and we'll get that figured out. But we know it's going to be better. That's water operating, and water and sewer are, from a revenue standpoint, they're both at a, sewer is 100% of water, so they get, that revenue source is the same. Water is here and sewer is here, so just so you folks on the council, I know most of you know that, and just for review. Going on to garbage collection. Roger, good to see you here tonight. You know, he's covered. Yeah. Okay. You don't have the garbage.
It wasn't on the list, so I didn't put it in there.
Oh.
We can talk about it.
Well, let me talk about that, because this is an opportunity for me to really plug something that's, I think, worked well for the city. There are some downs. There's always something that can be negative with any program. The biggest negative for the garbage truck is 2 things. It's only 1 truck. And if it goes down, we have the best mechanic in Cedar County, or maybe in Eastern Iowa, I think, because he can figure out stuff that the people at the factory can't figure out. And sometimes he calls them and goes over stuff with them in Arizona and, I don't know, Louisiana and wherever. But because we only have 1 truck, it's really important that Clay knows that inside and out, and he's gone to school on it, and he does a great job with that. Roger does a great job of getting things. In fact, we get phone calls when Roger's not on the truck because people say, "Where's Roger?" You know? Yeah, yeah. He's late. Whoever's running's late today. Well, Roger's pretty consistent, and he gets there and gets it done. The downside to having that one-arm automated truck is with recycle on windy days. Recycle on windy days. When that dumps, it's up in the wind, and it's not bagged. And we can't do anything about the wind. I'm working on it, but I just don't think we can do anything about the wind. What, I thought about this last week, what you could do, you could put it in paper bags and dump it that way so it didn't blow all over, but I hate that. I mean, it really doesn't make our city look very nice on a windy day on Tuesday. But there's not a lot we can do about that. Our workman's comp claims went to 0 after we got done, when we went with an automated truck versus a rear loader with two guys on the back end. So we've realized a lot of savings from that standpoint.
Let me just make a point. I can set my watch for the time he comes to by my house and picks up my garbage every Tuesday, every Tuesday morning. He's that quick. He's the best we've had.
If he's late, he's not late. He ain't there.
Yeah.
That's somebody else to run the truck.
I know. But when he's in it, he's on time.
Yeah, Russ does a nice job for us on that.
Every time.
This is a day late this week.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'll be there for garbage tomorrow, I'll
I
recycle
know.
this Wednesday.
It's already sitting out there, and I'll tell you what, I can go look at my watch, and it's within 2 minutes every time.
I'm gonna go on a couple others that are kind of different things we deal with, and one central garage, and just so we all have an understanding of central garage. Central garage takes care of all the equipment for the city. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars, everything the city owns goes through central garage. Clay can work on everything if he has the tools, and if he has the program, if it's something that we don't work with much, like a fire truck or something, he might not have the right software program to plug into it, but that's a whole different deal with fire trucks. But I would say he does almost 95, 98% of all our repairs in-house, and that has saved the city. And it's also not only that, but it's extended the life of a lot of our stuff because he does such a nice job of taking care of them. Central Garage, we buy stuff out of Central Garage, we pay for it out of Central Garage, and then whoever owns that piece of equipment pays Central Garage back. And if we have a joint piece of equipment, maybe gas and electric own 50% of a piece of equipment, maybe Public Works owns 50%, we pay Central Garage back that way according to the percentages. So we kind of look at Central Garage as the bank and everything, and then when Clay works on something, let's say he puts $200 worth of parts on something and 3 hours of labor at $40 an hour, our shop rate is $40 an hour that we charge against that piece of equipment so that Clay's salary is paid for. And that kind of works pretty well. Shop rates for trucks in Cedar Rapids are $110. And plus the time up there and back, and it's just, that's what we used to do, and it was not working very well for us. So I'm just tickled that previous councils, once again, went along with us to put that nice shop up, and I think it'll be paid for in 5 years, maybe, or 6, or something like that. I think we had 12 years to pay for that at 30 something, 32 maybe a year, something like that. Anyway, that's a great asset for the city of Tipton long term, and I just am tickled to have been part of that. Central Garage, I don't think there's anything in here that's different or looks different than anything in the past. One nice thing, if you look at the fuel charge, every year we put $65,000 in for fuel. And once again, that fuel gets charged against that vehicle, and that, whatever department owns that pays back the fuel along with parts and everything else. But $65,000, and about in 2011 and 12, we had it's not on your sheet, but that was a short year. And this year, so far, we've only spent $18,000. And we're gonna do okay on fuel this year. In the past, it's been right around 65,000, so that's gonna be a plus for us in spite of some other negative things going on in the world. Any questions questions on central garage? That's just such a different kind of arrangement financially that I wanted to point that out. The last one is the cemetery, and the cemetery, I want this to be understood by everybody in the community. The cemetery, we have a trust fund that's got $100,000 in it, and by state law, it's $100,000, and we're supposed to take care of the cemetery with the revenue from that $100,000. Well, it's only about $800 or $900 a year, so it's not really enough to do much. Our mowing contract with Chris, the last 3 years went from, I think, 26 to 27 to 28,000 over that 3-year period. Is that right, Pam? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. That we're re-upping now, but, and that was, he did a nice job, it was a good contract. I'd be hopeful that we could get something as good as Chris, and hopefully maybe Chris again. It could be 30,000 though, I don't know. I just, we'll just see what that turns into. But, whatever it is, it's more money than the cemetery has. So that's one reason, that's a huge reason why we went to digging the graves ourselves. That was turning into about a $10,000 a year thing, and I have 3 or 4 guys, myself included, that can run that piece of equipment to dig graves, and we're pretty good at it actually. And I'm impressed with even our 18-year-old. Because I did one with him that made me a little nervous, but I think we can do that, and I think it's saving the city quite a bit. Any questions on the cemetery? That's all I got, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
The electric.
Pardon my cough tonight. I got real sick over the weekend. My budget is a lot different than in the years past. The electric department has a lot of needs that have been overlooked for years. Basically, the old power plant, it's over 50 years old. One of the CP engines, as I was directed to when I first came, was we were to put it back together with cracked heads. Did what I was told, disagreed. The estimate to fix those heads is anywhere from $1,050 to $14,000, or $10,500 to $14,000. Tim and I discussed that. I told him I could probably put it off for a couple of years. But it does worry me. Currently, as you know, the Fairbanks Morse, the big OP engine, we've got it back together, we've ran it, and we're still having problems. I have a gentleman coming probably the end of this week to look at it. So in the discussion with Tim, we decided that it might not be a totally bad idea to get an assessment done of our generation and our distribution system together. The distribution system, one of our biggest concerns, or actually 2 big concerns, but one of them immediately is up on north of town. It's north, is it North Street that runs east and west? Or is that the avenue?
North runs east and west, North Avenue runs north and south.
Okay, so it's North Street. I can't find any record of the last inspection and what John had told the Iowa Utilities Board, which would have been approximately 7 to 8 years ago. I'm gonna contact the Iowa Utilities Board, but our recommendation is to go ahead and complete the underground project up there. And I'm guessing it's gonna cost us about $150,000. I haven't had anybody look at it, engineering wise, but the pipe's all in the ground, most of the cabinets are set. We're looking at transformers we already have in stock to finish that project, but there's just some things that just need to be done a little bit different with it. And when I get further down the road, I'll show the council and the public that this will be affecting what it's gonna look like. And one of the things that we'll do is we're talking about putting a switchgear cabinet either back behind Walmart and Dollar General, or we're gonna move it over by the Mercy Clinic, somewhere in there. John left. John and I had discussed this, and, we did not wanna put that piece of equipment in somebody's backyard. Because if it was me, you know, I'd be very upset about it, as big as it is. It's probably 8 foot by 8 foot. It's got a pretty big footprint, so I really wanna take people's, you know, thoughts in mind, because in this town, there's not a lot of big yards. One of the other things that we have budgeted is, $20,000 on the engineering expenses. And then you'll see that I'm wanting a full-time employee, which I'm not adding an employee. As you all know, Jim Driscoll left employment with the city of Tipton in 2013. I'm not exactly sure. And Brian was here at that time, and Brian, more or less, when I got here, he was kind of filling that position, but he was doing a lot of electrician work for the city at the time. So basically what I'm doing is looking at just replacing Jim Driscoll, and this individual will be a power plant operator / lineman. He's gonna spend most of his time probably doing line work. I have 2 really good young men here in Tipton that are interested in the position, although I told them, I said, council hasn't approved it, city manager hasn't approved it, and I said, so until that happens, I can't promise you anything. But the nice thing about having somebody from Tipton walk the job is that they're gonna stay for you, and that's a big deal. Training a lineman, and once you teach him the system, it's almost invaluable. You can't go down to Wilton and grab one of their guys and say, you know, you can teach him, but it's gonna take probably 3 to 5 years to where he's really comfortable. I'm just now starting to get some comfort with the system. It's way different than any place I've ever been, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And other than that, you know, I've got engineering. I don't know what to expect out of Eliza for the next year. They've been off more in the last 6 months than they've been on. So I don't know what to expect out of that, and really what's gonna happen with Eliza will be the determination of who our next people are in the House and Senate and the President. It could be good for the coal plant, it could be bad for the coal plant. It's one of my biggest concerns. And there may be someday I'll come and talk to you about Eliza, and maybe either selling our portion off or assigning it. But that's for a discussion for another day. And then I also have a digger derrick in the budget for the electric distribution system. The current truck we have, it's, the chassis is 20 years old, the boom is 30 years old. Typically the lifespan of that piece of equipment is probably, most places are getting rid of them when they're 10 to 15 years of age. It has done a good job for the city. It's done an excellent job for the city, but it's got some issues. The chassis is getting to the point where its age is, Clay was having trouble finding what, that ignition, you know, there's an ignition module on the truck. It's 20 years old. It's some of the stuff the manufacturers aren't supporting anymore. So, and like I just told the council earlier, probably last spring, was I'm not spending $250,000 to buy a new one. There's no way. We can't justify it. I've been looking at some nice used trucks online. They range anywhere from $80,000 to about $110,000. And I think we can buy a nice truck for probably in the $90,000 range. I asked the guys if they cared if it was an automatic or a stick, and they said nope, they didn't care, as long as the thing was better than what we got. We need something with a little bit more lifting capacity. Every year it gets a little weaker. other than that, if you've got some questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
Under your, other capital expenditures, 145, is that where you're saying the digger would be put?
Is that on page 5?
It is your, 821.3. It's page 5.
Yeah, that's where the digger
The
drain's
digger
listed
would be
at.
there.
Yeah.
And what do you have on page 3 for the 10,000? It's at the bottom, it'd be 820-3.
One of my plans was to buy some reel stands for wire. Currently, we really don't.
Some reels, like real stands.
Yeah, what they'll do is the reels of wire that we have, it'll be so that we can reel them a lot more conveniently. We talked about maybe even trying to build them. I haven't talked to Virgil about doing the welding yet, but we're still gonna have to buy materials, but, that was one of the things that we talked about. I haven't tried to talk to Virgil and do the welding yet.
I think that's it.
Okay,
Thanks,
you.
Glenn.
thank you.
Thanks.
And maybe went over to Water City Hall.
There isn't really much there either, other than council. We don't charge all of the administrative staff's wages or anything out of that budget because there just isn't enough tax dollars to support it. We have some grounds and building maintenance money in there. We still have to do the driveway, complete the driveway for the drop box. That's kind of just stopped last fall because we ran out of time. Other than that, there really isn't a whole lot in that budget at all. The cleaning ladies pay, that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
And the Parks and Rec. Nope.
I'll address that just generally. And it was mentioned earlier, I think outside the meeting, that the city did prevail on a $600,000 settlement for upgrades, repairs, whatever you care to term it, to the indoor pool building. And I have talked to Adam a couple of times about the scope of work needed for that, and he and I are approaching setting up a list of things that need to be done, and then working with a consulting engineer to begin to prioritize so as to be able to make those repairs and upgrades over time. It was talked about diving into it this spring before the regular summer pool season opened, and I counseled against that. It seems like hurrying up, in my experience, tends to create more grief than it's worth. So we're going to talk about phasing the repairs and improvements over time as both time and schedule permit, and according to the need to have that system, all those systems operational. It's a great facility for a town this size to have, and I know there's been a lot of grief about getting it all done and together, but it's here now. It's used by a lot of the community. It's used by the schools, the school athletic programs and other things, and it would be my goal to assist Adam and you in coming up with a plan to put it in the place where it needs to be. So that's where we're at with that. Otherwise, Adam's budget was, again, sort of incremental. It was adjusting for changes in the overall wages and insurance costs. But again, he's worked really hard, along with Colin, to keep that facility operational and open to the public. And I'm impressed with the amount of things that they do of their own volition to keep it up and running. So I think you'd be congratulated for bearing with it. And it's, like I said, I know it's been grievous at times, but it's there, it's functional, and it can be put right and kept in use for many years coming. And that's all I know about what I know about the park budget.
Tim, I can speak a little bit about the rec programs. Adam runs those solely self-supported. He charges enough for the registration fees to provide the whatever kind of referees they need. And he does very well with that as well. The park is just maintenance. There isn't anything extra there.
All right, I think that wraps up the reports on the budgets. Now on to the reports. I don't really have anything. City manager?
Just a couple of overarching comments about the budget process. You know, again, I've been here for 3 to 5 weeks, and I know just enough to be uncomfortable. But I'm quite comfortable with the foundation that's been built here. The way in which budget line items are posted, the way in which labor costs and other costs are distributed is quite good, and it makes for an easy process to really take a good hard look at the way the budget is put together. I think, again, you'd be complimented for maintaining the software, first of all, and the staff, most importantly, to be able to manage that. Today was the first day I took a really good look at fund balances, and now I know enough to ask questions intelligently, and I'll start on that process this week so that we can be able to bring you a better view of where the city stands and where we're going. I'd like to support Floyd in his observations about a need for assessment of the system. One of the great benefits of having a municipal electric operation, and I've had the fortune to work in 2 cities that had that, one of the great benefits is that you do have local control of your policies within the Iowa Utility Board allowances and the state statutes. You do have some control over how you build and rebuild your system, and you have the ability, in case of an outage, if you drop a line to the grid that we get most of our power from, they're able to be up and running and provide alternate power, and I'm going to guess that it's in under 30 minutes. And sometimes more, depending on how quickly folks can react on both ends of the switch. And when you have generation in town, you have the ability to sell that capacity back to major providers, and that can be a real source of cash revenue. I understand that we do some of that, and that's a real positive thing. The tough part of being a municipal electric operation is that you're also responsible to make sure that the system stays up and running. And I've worked, as I've said before, in municipal electric communities, and I've worked in communities that are served by an investor-owned entity. And some investor-owned entities are better than others. Some are not responsive at all. They're responsive to their shareholders, and so it's hard to convince a major investor-owned utility, say in Northern Illinois, to come in and overbuild or rebuild part of their system as long as it's still spinning meters. Whereas here, you can make a decision on your own to competently rebuild and repair your system so you have greater efficiency, which means you waste less energy, you have more reliable service to your customers, and you can turn that money around that in an investor-owned utility goes to Des Moines or Chicago, and they have to allocate that amongst their many operations and their shareholders. That money stays here, and you can hire and retain local folks to respond to outages and make sure that your system's safe and efficient. So, you know, I talked a little bit about the bonuses, but the responsibility part is that we have to take a hard look at the overall system, and so Floyd and I opened that conversation last week, and we'll begin to get some back-of-the-envelope proposals together to share with you, and develop a plan so that over the next 5 to 10 years, you can continue to overbuild, rebuild, and repair your system. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right. And now that we're to the end of the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Boots with the motion,
Second.
Spears with the second. Meeting is adjourned.
Just got here.
Hi, Marlene. I wanted to give you that, just to go over before you meet with Patty. Okay, thank you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, well, and others were not that way, so. Right, and it wasn't.